educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew.
Hello and welcome to Sister Talks Led by God, a podcast where we talk truth, transparency, and transformation with the occasional sip of tea. Mm-hmm. I'm Brandie.
I'm Teaa.
I'm Teaa.
And today we are talking life after loss.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, sis.
Let's talk about it.
I think it's fair to say that most people have experienced some degree of loss in their lives, whether it be physical, spiritual, metaphorically, some sort of loss. You've lost a friend, you've lost a loved one, you've lost a parent, you've lost a relationship,
Lost a job.
So let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Is anyone dealing with a current loss? Okay, so I want to say this. Even with this word loss, I've noticed when it comes to a person, I'll say with my dad, for instance. My dad passed away 7 years ago. I think 7 years ago.
I'll be forgetting.
I think it'll be 7. Yeah. 7 this year. But nonetheless, I'm man, I don't remember who, but they helped me. They shared a perspective with me that helped me, and it changed how I say it. Mm-hmm. My dad isn't lost; he passed on, or he
transitioned.
Went to you know what I'm saying. But it's because I said, "Man, I've lost my dad," and he said, "Teaa, your dad isn't lost." He said, "You know where he is." Mm-hmm. And I was like,
that's a good perspective.
Yeah, I was because I never thought of the word lost. That's just what we say as not found. Mm-hmm. But when he said it, I was like, yeah. So, anyway, so when I think about even that, it's is it truly always a loss? Or is it sometimes even a gain? Even if it is a job or a relationship, or could let's say a loss of relationship be a gaining of peace or something? I don't know,
Be the case.
But I know for me, specifically with the loss or the passing of my father, I'll say for me what that did, I don't know that it had to happen for this to happen, but because it did, I got to know God in a totally different way as a father. Yeah. I would hear growing up, he's a father to the fatherless. Mm-hmm. But I didn't and knew really he could be and would be and probably even said, thank you, Father, but it wasn't until that happened that I was you had to lean on him to be the thing that you'd heard he could be. 100% be. Mm-hmm. And I remember
trust him at his word.
Yep. And I remember standing in my living room and I said, Lord, who's going to be my father now? He said, I am. Yep. And as you need men along the way, I'll send him. And he's done just that. But that was probably, I would say, the biggest loss passing that I've experienced in my life. When I was 8, my grandma, who I love so much, but at the age where I could really understand and had to deal with it, if you will. For sure, my dad. I've lost other things relationship type stuff, but that.
Yeah. For me, my biggest loss was my daughter, which she was stillborn. This was 2015, so she would be what, 9? Not
it's 24, so 9.
9 this year, and
on my birthday,
on Chanel's birthday. So they share the same birthday. I would have to agree when I tell you. I don't want to cry, Lord Jesus. It took me to a different place, and I think most people would have been angry with God. I can't say that I was angry. Yeah, I was more so confused, and I didn't understand why. And still to this day, don't understand why. I think that it's still a space that I'm processing and navigating, but in the back of my mind, I think about her often, but I try to, what's the word I'm looking for, block it out so that it doesn't take over my life. So that grief doesn't take over my life, if you will. So that's probably my biggest loss. I will say that it it really helped me draw nearer and closer to God for sure. And it really, those of you know, like that know me know that I'm a daddy's girl. But it also, it's interesting that you said that in terms of him being a father to the fatherless. But me and my dad I'm a daddy's girl, and though we are close, like losing my daughter, that even drew us closer. So not only did it draw me closer to my earthly father, but it also drew me closer to my heavenly father. Which, if I'm honest, I can say this, and I think a lot of people who experienced it, you know, was in the thick of it with me, would probably agree that it probably hurt him more, like my earthly father more. He showed, like, my dad has always supported me, but in that moment I felt like I experienced a different level of love and support. Like the way, and a lot of people say, and I think that we experience it, and y'all can probably speak to this, that parents do when it comes to their grandchildren. And like she would have been the first grandchild, so that just goes to say a lot. And so I would say that it drew me closer to God for sure, and I really had to lean and glean and process and still processing. Nonetheless, I am looking forward though to experiencing being an active, mother. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah. I've experienced a lot of loss in my life. So, and I don't know that I can, I have a unique situation in loss. I have lost a parent. I've lost two parents, which is a little interesting because both were my mother. And so I have experienced that loss, and that has been, I think there's been a piece about both of them that I don't think many people could understand. But I think because of the way my life has been, I've had time to process the loss before the loss.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So you feel like you prepared yourself?
Yeah.
For like you kind of knew that
the way my life went, I was prepared for the loss, if that makes sense. So to be more specific, I had a biological mother, of course, and then I had a mother who raised me. And I lost them both. I lost my mother who raised me first in 2017. And then I lost my biological mother in 2019. And the mother who raised me my whole life. So it's not to say like, that was my mama. Biologically, she was my grandmother, but
that was your mother.
That was my mom. And so that was a loss. But the absence of my biological mother in my life, my whole life, prepared me for the physical loss of her in my adult life.
Yep.
And just growing up with my mama, like the peace, having the life that I had with her, experience, she had a long life, right? Like, relatively. She was 75, I want to say. But later in her life, she had gotten really ill. And she was not, I wouldn't even say suffering, but like she was in and out of the hospital. And like she couldn't walk anymore. And I know growing up, she would always say things like, if I can't do for myself, like I don't want to, I don't want to be a burden for anyone, and I don't want to, be around if I can't. Because she used to say stuff like that, and I used to be like, Mama, like don't, she would say stuff like, when I pass or whatever. And And I would just be like, "You girl, you'll be around here till you 100." And she was like, "I don't want that." And I would be like, "But why?" And she was like, "I don't want that. If I can't do for myself, if I can't take care of myself, then I don't want to be around to be a burden on anyone." And if I'm honest, my dad retired to take care of my mother, which I know is probably something that she was grateful for, right? Appreciative of.
Necessarily
she would not have wanted that, right? And so when she, the last time that she was in the hospital, she was really, really ill, and she was real fair, and she had like blood, like you could, I don't know what they call it, but like when blood vessels maybe burst or something.
Varicose veins?
It wasn't varicose veins,
Okay.
but you could see, they had to give her like transfusions and things like that. You could see the blood in her arm under her skin. Like it was like, almost, have you seen people with the port wine birthmark where it's like red? Like red?
Yes.
That's what her arm looked like from the transfusions and things like that. And we were in the hospital, and she looked at me and she just grabbed my hand and she said, "Baby, I'm tired. Can I go?" Yeah, of course. Like, I get it. I understand. Like, selfishly, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a piece about that because I knew she was ready, and I knew she lived a life for like 5 years that she didn't want. And who wants that?
Yeah.
So there was peace with that. Naturally, of course, when you get a call that your parent has passed away, that's hard and it hurts. But I was okay with it. I was okay with it because I knew she was okay with it. And me and my daddy still struggle sometimes. We talk about her, or he'll be like, "I really miss my mama." He called her mama, but no. But he'll say things like that, and so that was a huge loss because that was the one of the people that I could depend on in my life. So that was tough. But to say it was the thank you, girl. I don't know. I mean, because I had the relationship with my biological mother was important too. It was just different. And if I'm honest, that one was more of a I mothered her more than she mothered me. So it was a different kind of loss. And life after that though has been fine. Like, okay, because of the peace that I was provided in the actual loss of her.
Yeah.
And I know I was good to her. So there's a certain level of like comfort and peace when you know you've been good to someone or you've done right by someone that people won't understand. But I don't have any guilt or anything like that because I was good to both of them while they were here. And then I've also experienced a miscarriage. So there's been many moments in my life that I've had losses, but I have gained something in every one of them. So yeah. Dang, girl, I wasn't trying to do all that either. But yeah, here we are. So how do you handle it? Like, how do you process life after? Like, what are your coping skills or things that you do?
For me, it depended on what or who. So like, had a miscarriage in college. I was thankful. Because I didn't want that. And so I was, thankful. So I was not sad about that.
Yeah.
I was not turning cartwheels.
Well, of course.
Right.
And excited, but I also was not sad. And
Did you feel like the Lord knew?
And I think that was probably one of the moments where I started to realize, like, I'm not gonna fake sad, because that's what's expected. Again,
some people would.
And sensitive to what happened, not just for me, but for their father, for the child's father, his father, whatever. And to this day, like, he passed away, the father, a year ago. Dang. And that was one of the things that his family brought up. How much he talked about that. I'm like, I never talked about that.
Yeah.
You know?
It affects people differently too.
And it does. And I knew it impacted him
There's
even
different
when.
stages to it.
Yeah, and I knew it impacted him even when, and I won't put words in his mouth, but I wonder if some of that impact was because that's what he couldn't have me, but that was a part of me. You know what I mean? So maybe not so much because you so wanted to be
There would have been
the
some
father,
comfort
because you already
that
had
he had.
children. You know, he already had 2 kids. So possibly less about I really wanted that child, and more like that would have been
wanted
some
her
kind
child.
of you know. And that was an honest conversation. You know, that was sad. So, but that was that one. But then with my dad. So for the last 30 days of his life, I spent every day with him. And for me, that brought some peace. I didn't know it was going to be the last 30 days. I knew that it would, or at least sensed that it would be short. He found out he had stage 4 stomach cancer. The doctor said in 3 months, you know, you guys are going to be preparing. We were preparing in a month. And so, but being with him those 30 days and I don't know. It just it helped. It helped me, and I didn't have an estranged relationship with my father. So when I say spent the last 30 days with him, that was one of my best friends. So yeah, we was always doing whatever daddy daughter stuff.
Because you're a daddy's girl.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all daddy's girls.
Say, yeah, for sure. Every single one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a moment of like intentional, as Tay said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Making sure.
Which is different.
Spent the night over there a few nights, or you know, there was one night I remember he called and he couldn't go to the restroom and it was hurting. So I went over and grown self, there I am with my grown daddy, holding some things and entering some others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's where we at. You
This
know
is
what
where
I'm
we
saying?
at.
And I'm okay with that.
Today, that's my daddy. So.
Yeah, and so that kind of stuff when it happened, when I got the
She
call.
said holding. I love it. Yeah. No, it's be real.
Yeah,
It's real.
And so when I got the call, and I actually didn't get a call, what happened was that morning I called the hospital and I called the room and nobody answered. And that was a little like, But then I called that front desk, and by now he's been in the hospital several days, like weeks. So I mean, that's like home in a way, not being funny, but so nobody answering their phone. I'm like, something's going on with my daddy. It's 7. It was like 6 in the morning. I'm like, something's going on with my father. And then so I call again the front desk, and someone answers, and I could hear the beeping. I could hear the coding noise, and I remember saying to the woman, I said, "You can go." Jesus. She says, "T, I gotta call you back." I said, "You can go." And I knew. Then I get a call from my stepmom at the time. She was in the room screaming. And I remember I was in the shower, hair wet, all the things. So I was shampooing my hair. So I got out and told, my husband at the time, and threw some clothes on, hit the highway, called my brothers, my mom, my aunt, and that was it. But I know that for me, those 30 days, and I don't remember if it was in the hospital or sometime before the funeral or memorial service. But the Lord said to me, He said, "Tia, just because I didn't heal your father the way you wanted to doesn't mean I didn't heal him." And that was something I had to sit with, because what I did get to see was reconciliation and apology. Like, there were moments in my dad, because he was very particular about who came to the hospital. And even in that, a lot of bullets I had to take. I was doing what he asked, and people didn't understand it. Some didn't even know to understand. And so it was just a lot of punches coming my way. In the moment, I felt like, I was helping a family getting to grieve and not getting to grieve, because it was a lot, a load.
The gatekeeper. You were the gatekeeper.
Yeah. And I was just trying to do I did what I was asked to do, but whatever. But I remember there were moments he was like, "Hey T, can you call such and such and have them come up?" And they would come, and he was like, "I need you to wait in the lobby." And without knowing, I just knew something healing was happening in that room. You know what I mean? And so those are the moments that came back to me. I saw pride lift, humility settle, just different things. And so that gave me calm and peace too, because I know where my daddy went as well.
Period.
And so those, for me, that was very, I would say, is the things, the combination, if you will, that helped me to be like, it is well. Like, it's okay.
It is well.
Like, I'm going to acknowledge, and it's the same way I felt with divorce. That was a loss. Yeah. That I'm going to acknowledge these emotions, and that came after the fact, the divorce, but I'm going to acknowledge and allow, but I'm not gonna sit in these emotions. Because I literally saw an image of like, you know how you might see somebody years later from high school or middle school, you were like, dang, have you seen Sheila? Like, she looks so different. And it's not always in a good way. It's like they look like what they've been through. That's what I thought about. Like, I know who I am at the core of me. I'm fun, I'm jovial, I'm joyous, I'm all that. So I can't allow this to make me
look
not
like
be
anything
that.
else.
Yep. And that's not to say cover up or that I didn't have some tough moments and times, but it couldn't, it wasn't an option for me to allow that to become who I am. And my cousin, something my cousin told me one day, I think it was like a year later, in Father's Day. So Daddy's birthday and Father's Day is week after each other.
My biological daddy's birthday.
Like that? And so Father's Day was
Sometimes
coming.
his birthday is on Father's Day.
Wow, okay. And so birthday was coming first. So his birthday was coming, and I remember talking to my cousin, George. Shout out to my cousin, George. And I said, he was checking on me. He was like, how you doing? Yes.
I love him. Anyway.
He was like,
he said, yeah, I know.
Yes. And so he was like, how are you doing and all the things? And I said this, I remember I said, man, I said, Dad's birthday is coming. And I said, I just know it's going to be a tough day. And he said, well, why do you know that? And the more he spoke, what he was communicating, he ended up saying it like this. He was like, Tia, just like you have faith to have a great day, like you have faith for the moves and all the things you do, you can have faith to have a good day. He said, you don't have to plan to have a bad day. Now, if you get to that day and there's some tough moments, okay, but you don't have to plan for it to be literally instantly change my verbiage. Oh my gosh, which helped change my perspective. And so, and I'm mindful of that perspective because that's not everyone, and that's okay. I wasn't there 6 years ago, but it's like,
it's true. Your words have power.
They do.
Absolutely.
Your words absolutely have power. And so, what you say?
I said, you know how I feel about something.
Yeah, right.
And we all do.
Like words really do have power. And so when you're intentional about the way that you're speaking and the things you're saying over yourself and the things you're affirming and or,
Excuse me.
What's the opposite of affirm?
And or not.
Affirm, no. Not affirming.
So it's important that we be mindful and intentional about our words with ourselves and other people.
I was gonna say, it's important that we not allow not allow others to speak certain things over us. That's just like allowing people to pray with you and pray over you and even pray for you.
That's so
prayer requests and things like that. When I tell you, you said something. You said acknowledge and allow yourself to process or go through the loss or go through
feelings.
Go through the grief and whatever it looks like for you. It's literally whatever it looks like for you. Don't allow someone to tell you when you should get over it, how you should feel about it, how long you should feel about it. Now, I do agree that we should not allow ourselves to sit in it. One thing for me, and we all, I'm sure, can speak to this, like my support system when I experienced that, oh my gosh, I don't know like what I would have done for real. When I tell you I'm so grateful, I felt so protected. I felt so protected. My mother, it's so interesting because me and my mother are really close. She actually got a vision that it was going to happen, but then she was muzzled, so she couldn't share it with me. Like, it had to happen how it happened, you know. And those of us are, you know, seers. You know, we understand that, and so it was what it was. Like, I wasn't upset with her or anything like that. It was a different purview for both myself and her in terms of our relationship, because I am also a mama's girl. So, but it's almost like she took a step back, and she covered me from, though she was close, she was nearby, she covered me from afar. To whereas my father, like, we were like locked in like every day. And so I'm grateful for the support system that I have, because I recognize and I realize that not everyone has that.
Yeah, that's
like
real
they
good.
allowed me to go through my process without judgment. You know, I think what people don't realize is there are moments that you feel like you are okay, but then there are other moments to where it's just like,
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay. And those are, it's okay to feel, it's okay to feel how you feel when you feel it. Process it however you need to process it. And if you're able to move forward in the moment, fine. If you're not, then let it be what it is in the moment.
Yeah, and I think it was important to me because there's a such thing as grief, but then there's a spirit of grief.
Absolutely.
And that's
that
different.
you can carry.
You know what I mean? And so their spirit of grief, that looks different.
It does.
And it shows up in different parts of your life, you know, and I think that's something to be mindful of.
For sure.
Because I actually do think there is an expiration on grief. When allowed. Like, I think there are levels to it. So when I say expiration, I may not be grieving, but there may be a moment that I'm experiencing grief. Like, those are different things. Like, I'm not still grieving the loss of my dad.
Same.
But then, like, his birthday may come, and in a moment I'm experiencing some grief. You know what I
Memory
mean?
may
Or
come
something like that. But it's not like, this continuous thing. And it's okay if that is. I want to be clear. What I'm saying is it can. Dad passed in November, so it was in November of last year that the Lord gave me this word, and it was a term, shared grief. And what he was just communicating is how we're not in it alone. And I thought about that when you were talking about support. Even if those close to us aren't the ones there, shared grief doesn't always mean you literally maybe have someone right there with you,
But somebody is experiencing it also.
but there is someone else experiencing it. And I had to be mindful, like, while I was his daughter, he had best friends, he had a wife, he had sons. You get what I mean? Another daughter, and while we were together, it's like,
You're not the only one hurt.
yes, like, he was many things to many people. And so there's shared grief, not just someone else experiencing grief, but also to say, hey, I would like, let me be here for you. Or how can I be here for you? You know, like, you don't have to be alone. Not always. Sometimes we are because we are, and I recognize that. Sometimes we are because we've not allowed someone to be there with us in that. And so I think that's something to be mindful of. But people also allowing people, as you said, to grieve and to be on their journey. And it's a fine line. That's why I think prayer is just really important in it, period, of course. But it's really important because I remember sitting at my desk one day and my friend called and he was checking on me. And I was like, man, this is when I remember this now that I'm saying this. I said, I'm literally experiencing peace that surpasses understanding. Like, I can't even tell you why I feel the way I feel. But I'm like, this has to be that scripture. Like, because I'm like, I feel peaceful. Peaceful does not always equal not sad.
Yes.
Right? But there is a peace even
About
in
it.
the missing. There is a peace even in the sadness. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, it's the kind that surpasses understanding. Because I'm like, y'all don't get this, but I know I'm experiencing it. Like, I know what I'm experiencing. You know what I mean?
I will say that I'm no longer sad. There was a time to where I would get sad, like, just based off memories and just throughout my pregnancy, or like on her birthday and things like that. But I'm no longer sad. Like, I no longer get sad. Do I have moments? Absolutely. Do I think about her often? Absolutely. But I can honestly say that I am no longer sad. I'm no longer sad.
I always struggle with, if I'm honest, I always struggle with that because she was born on my birthday. Like, she was born on my birthday, and so it's like,
And she texts me every year. Literally.
and
every
I don't
year.
know. I when I do that, I don't know because I never want to be invoking a feeling. Right. I don't want to be the reason that she has the feeling like that.
I'm very
but also, I
appreciative.
want to acknowledge too that
Yes.
this is we share this day, right? And if she was here,
You are always intentional about that.
you know what I'm saying? If she was here, we would be, me and my niece going, it's our birthday. It's my,
Where y'all at?
you know what I'm saying?
Y'all, you leaving me like, you taking my daughter on my birthday. Like, that's wild.
And my intention behind that is just because she's not here physically, I don't want that to change. Like, but I've always grappled with that. Like, I don't want.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I don't. But it's my birthday, twin's birthday. Happy birthday, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's appreciated.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have an auntie that I have, most of the people that check on me, like that always reach out. In fact, it's so, it's interesting because this past December, my auntie reached out and I didn't even realize that it was the 30th. Mm-hmm. I was out shopping with a friend and she said, "Hey niece, how you doing? Like, I just wanted to call and check on you." And I said, "Hey auntie." I'm thinking she just checking in. And it was and it was something that she said. I said, "Oh. It's the 30th.
Did you feel guilty?
And it did. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I was just like, "Thank you, auntie." We had a whole conversation, and thank you. Like I said, I was very appreciative. I knew that she was going to call because she always calls. Just like I know that I'm always going to receive your text. And there's others as well. But no, I didn't feel guilty.
That's good.
I did think like, now, girl, how you? Because in times past, like I always remember, and it's not. Yeah, I did forget. I forgot, but I didn't forget.
We get you.
You just weren't mindful,
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
So
of the day.
Like, and
which happens in life.
And it literally wasn't
Christmas,
right. It wasn't until we were probably 10 minutes into the phone conversation. I said, "Oh, she calling me because it's my baby's birthday."
Yeah.
So yeah, and I didn't say anything to her, but it was just kind of like a thought that I had. I was just like, "Oh, okay. Hey, yeah, Annie, I'm good. I'm just out here in these streets shopping." And so that's a perfect example of I'm not sad. Like it was a moment in my life. It's a part of my purpose and it's a part of my journey and
testimony. In
my testimony, yep. And I'm well with it.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm in a better place with it.
Yeah.
Than years prior. I think oftentimes people say like it gets easier with time or over time. And I would have to say for me, like I said, I'm still processing, so I don't know if I want to go there. So
okay.
So yeah.
Understood.
For me, the grief. So I remember when I should use names so it's not confusing, but when Shalita passed away, which is my biological mother, like I said, growing up in my life, there were. She was just absent. She struggled with addiction, and so she would have like binges and go missing, right? And I can just recall vividly being like 10 or 11. I forgave my mom. There was a time when I was younger, like much younger, that I had a lot of resentment, and I just did not. I was just like, ugh, this. How could you not want your kid or whatever? And then I want to say when I was like 10 or 11, the Lord said, "You forget." Like, I had to forgive her for so that I could not carry those feelings, right? And so
that's good.
There was no, and I mean, I was really young when that happened. I can vividly remember it. And so there was never, from that point on, there was never any contention. There was never any ill will or any disdain or resentment or anything from my mom in that regard, or just in general from that moment forward. But I can remember it shifted from that to, I don't want to say worry or concern, but like, I can just remember thinking like, if she's out here on a binge one day and she dies, she's going to be by herself. Nobody, because no one is going to know who she is. So, and I don't want to be vulgar or vivid or what, but this is just my mind as a kid. Yeah. She's going to be in a crack house. She's going to be by herself. She's going to be there for a long time. And nobody's going to know who she is. And I'm not going to know. And I have siblings, and they're not going to know. That was a real fear of mine. There was a level of comfort when she was in prison because I knew where she was.
That's real.
Right?
That's real.
She'd been in prison twice in my life. And that was when I experienced the most peace. Because I knew exactly where she was.
Yep.
She eating three
meals a day.
Three hots and a cot.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know she's good. But it was the times when she wasn't that I was like, Lord, I need you to cover her. As 11-year-old, I need you to cover my mama because if something happens, I need to know immediately. Like, I need to. And as an adult, that became like a chase. Like, when she was out, if I found out that she was out binging, I'm looking for her. I'm going to look for her. Or because of that fear. And so when she passed away in 2019, I think she got to meet all three of my kids. Yeah. Right? Bailey was just born that year. Bailey was born in April. She passed away in June. Baby, and this lady, she was not maternal. She changed my baby diaper and put it on backwards. I said, girl, houseway. That don't even look right.
No, that's not right.
Anyway.
No practice at all.
Glad you're here nonetheless.
Child, do what you can do. Give me my baby. But and so in June of that year, she had been diagnosed with, she had been pre-diabetic. They told her, like, you need to change your eating habits. You need to do this and that. She loves candy, loved candy. And she just didn't eat right. And she wasn't changing it. Okay. They said you're pre-diabetic if you don't change it, Yeah. And she didn't change it. And so I think in maybe May, she was diagnosed with diabetes. Okay. And so she was on some new medications trying to figure everything out. And she would have moments where it was like weird. And so her meds weren't quite calibrated. And she was also on some mental meds as well. And so maybe they weren't mixing. Yeah. And so like my aunt
happens more often than people.
So my aunt had reached out to me one day in June. And it was Father's Day. And she was like, baby, I need you to call your mama because I've been talking to her and her speech kind of sounded slurred and she didn't sound right or whatever. And she was like, I think that she needs her meds recalibrated because she sleep all day. My mother suffered from depression. So she was like, she sleep all day. Now, mind you, my mom was an avid reader. Baby, if she didn't do nothing, she was girl, smoke her cigarette in the morning while she was reading her Bible and doing her devotion. Okay,
clock it.
At 5:00 every morning. Like, and when I say consistent, that's what I mean. Like, she was consistent about
still
it.
Have a relationship and smoke your cigarette. Same.
And prayerfully, he would bring you off of that. But okay, we are. Anyway, so she was very she was regimented in her day, even in her depression, even in her things. She had a way of doing stuff. And so my aunt was like, I just need you to talk to her to have her doctors, because I can't have them do it, but I can talk her. If anybody needed to get into my mom, it was tell Brandie. She can get her to do it, or she can,
There's always that one child.
Yeah.
Or few people.
So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I was obedient. I called her as soon as I got off the phone. I called my mama. She didn't answer the phone, which I was like, she probably sleep because this is her. She gonna call me back in the morning. This is what we do. But she never called me back. And the next morning, my aunt called me and was like, I ain't talked to your mama. Or my sister might have called me.
And that's probably a part of her regimen.
Yeah,
too.
My sister might have called me and said, have you talked to your mom? No, my aunt called and said, I haven't talked to your mama. And they were thick as thieves. My mama moved closer so that they could be close together, right? And they're only like a year. They're like Hayden and Bailey, my kids. They're less like a year or
practically
right at
twins.
A year apart. And so it was her routine to talk to her in the morning, drink her coffee, talk to her in the morning. And that didn't happen. And so she called me and she was like, I need you to check on, your mom or something, she said. And then my cousins had checked on her the night before, and when they checked on her, they were like, she wasn't really good. Like, I could tell something was wrong, but she didn't want to come with us, so we left her. And I was like, why would you? Baby, I would have put her in that car so quick. Make her come. But that's not fair to put, because I also am her child, and I can do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just hop in the car. I'm gonna go check on her or whatever. Immediately in my mind, I'm not thinking she's not well. I'm thinking
She's in her sleep.
she's on a binge.
Ah.
And let me go see if I can find her, right? So I'm driving. She lived in Moore. So I'm driving to her apartment. It's like 6 in the morning, 6:30 or something in the morning. I done threw on something, child. And I'm still on maternity leave, actually. So I didn't have to be at work. And I'm like, I'm driving over there. I park. I go to her apartment, knock on the door, no answer. This lady sees me go to her apartment. This lady across the street. And she's like flagging me over. And I'm like, she's like, are you looking for Shalita? And I'm like, yes. She was like, I think something is wrong. That's my best friend. And she usually comes over in the morning and we sit and have talk. We you know everybody be your best friend.
Yeah.
Baby, I ain't never heard of this lady in my life. But child,
That's
she
how it be though
like-
sometimes.
and you don't know me.
Especially with the
I know
neighbor,
you.
yeah.
But anyway, she was like,
Baby, sometimes we thank God for that nosy neighbor.
Listen, she was like, she didn't come, you know, and usually she does. And I saw her last night, and she was supposed to come over here this morning, and she hasn't come yet. So I'm worried something might be wrong. So I'm headed to the office. I'm like, they can let me in. Girl, it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. They not in there. So I have to go back to her apartment. I'm like, I got to get in. Why I don't have a spare, I don't know.
Yeah.
Girl, that don't make no
You typically
sense.
would.
I would typically have a spare, but I didn't have one. And I'm like, I got to get in this apartment because a couple things. Either she's not in there, she's out here binging, got to find her, or she's in there and something's wrong and she needs help. I cannot wait for my, now by this time I'm on the phone with my auntie telling her, she's like, what's going on? You made it there? And she's like, I'm on my way. Don't go in. Don't do nothing or whatever. And I'm like, well, if she in here,
I'm going in here.
I'm going in here. Listen, when I say the Lord himself came down and touched these thighs, I kicked her door in, kicked her door down. And I'm looking in there. Now, mind you, she has a small little apartment. It's like a studio. It's not a studio, because, you know, a studio is like one space.
It is one space, yeah.
But it's getting studio. But she...
It's studio-ish.
Studio studio adjacent.
Yeah.
She's got like a living room and a little kitchenette area right here. But then there is a separation where her room and her bathroom is.
Just enough for them not to be able to call it a studio.
Correct. Correct. So I'm walking in. She's got a couch right here and a couch over there, and then her little kitchen area. So I'm walking in. Her bedroom's right here. Walking in the bedroom. She ain't in the bedroom. Oh God, don't let her be in the shower. Hit her head, fell, whatever. Because you know, her meds aren't right. Dizzy, sleepy, anything could happen. I look in the bathroom, nothing. So I turn around, and then at this point, I'm like, binge, she gone. Now how am I gonna find her? And as I'm walking back into the living room, remember I said there's a couch here and the kitchen is here, and she was on the couch. And when I say she looked asleep. Like she just looked asleep. And we had on the same shorts. The very same shorts. And when I say the same, I mean the very same shorts. And I looked, and I first of all, your logic don't catch up. You be kind of, you be a little delayed in the process,
For sure.
I'm calling her name, and I'm like, Brandie. This is literally happening in my mind.
Yeah.
Mama, but Brandie, you done kicked this lady door in.
Yeah.
If she could hear you, she would have cussed you out for kicking her door in.
She would be up.
She would be up.
Yeah.
But I still, in my mind, I'm still like, but no, she. And when I
She's
touch,
in a deep sleep.
she sleep. You hear me? She done this medicine done got. She sleep. But when I touch her, it was cold as ice. She had been there, not there like clearly not for a long time, because they just saw her last night.
Okay.
But she had been there, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a little moment of freak out. I was like, oh my God, this cannot be real. And I think my aunt heard me scream on the phone. And then I was fine.
Yeah.
I was fine because, in my perspective of that, is the Lord allowed me to find my mama. Because remember, I was a 10-year-old, 11-year-old saying, she's going to die and nobody's going to find her.
Yeah. Yep.
The peace that gave me,
Yeah.
is the reason why I can talk about it, or people are like, how are you okay and you found your mama like that?
Yeah.
Like, because I needed that.
Yeah.
I had that. It was a me and her moment.
Yeah.
You know, it was a me and him moment.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I'm at peace about it. First of all, she looked peaceful.
Yeah.
She looked legit sleep. And so I'm all right. I had one therapy session after the situation. And she was like, you are fine. I see that you're fine. She said, but I just want to check and make sure that that you don't have PTSD. I don't have PTSD.
Praise God.
I'm well with it. Like he prepared me for this.
100%.
Yeah.
And that is the piece that I have. So I have. I don't want to say closure, but I want to say closure.
Yeah.
In both situations.
I think it is that.
Yeah.
Because
And
I'm
that's
good.
okay. Like, you don't have to feel guilty. We don't have to feel guilty for closure.
And sometimes I feel, I'm not gonna lie, I struggle sometimes with how okay I am.
That's the thing.
I'm just
Do
like,
you think it's because of the perception that you feel
that
like
other
you would
people
receive from
have.
others?
Yeah, like you shouldn't
It's not
be
even
okay.
yours. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like sometimes we carry things that
That
are not even
ours.
ours.
Like,
Yeah, I remember standing there with Dad, once he had passed, and by now the family was there, and we were standing around and had worship music on, just kind of being in the moment. And my auntie was like, my dad's sister, she said, somebody better watch her talking about me. Somebody better watch her because she going to have a breakdown.
Never, not
it's
one time.
Ooh.
Me either.
No. And it was because of how they responded, which I wasn't liking how they were. But again, that 30 days, my relationship with the Lord, even before the 30 days, my relationship with the Lord, my relationship with, or at least our process of grief, and loss and all of that, I'm just like, not I'm good, like, oh well, but it's like, I'm good though, y'all. Like,
I'm
this
really
is a part of
good.
it. This is okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
And the Lord will carry you. When I tell you, He will. Yeah.
But I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm not, like I was telling.
And you
the person
can
I
still
saw-
miss Him and not cry.
Yeah.
Or not feel away.
Yeah.
Like people
I'm
just
like,
respond to grief and
differently.
loss differently.
Yeah.
And it's all okay.
It's okay. I was telling the person I saw in Dallas this past week, I was like, man, these men walked in, these older men, Chris jeans, cowboy boots, hats, they were clean.
Deport.
I said, I was like, oh, and I looked at him and I said, those men walking in remind me I saw a man not long ago, and I was like, is that my daddy? Like,
Now hold on, wait.
bald head, light skin. I was like, wait, is that my daddy? Like, so we laughed. But so those moments happen. I remember one day, driving down, this was a couple years ago, driving down the street. I think I had just got off work from church, if you will, and I picked up the phone and called him. And I'm like, girl, he not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a moment then, shed a few tears, went on,
Yeah.
I didn't go, movies is and was our thing, is my thing. Love movies at home, movie theater, whatever.
Wherever.
And so we would go and we would call each other. Daddy would call me. He would say, Sweet Tea, you got to go see such and such. And when you do, let's talk about it, all the things. And
A whole debriefing.
Yeah, a whole debriefing. Or he would say, okay, I just got done seeing Talladega Nights. Now they doing a bunch of cussing. So when you go, this ain't one of them kind of
Prepare
movies.
yourself.
Yeah, just know. This ain't, just know what you're getting into. But it's a good movie though. Sweet
Sit
Tea.
through it, because it's good.
Go see it. Because I didn't talk
Don't
to you.
walk out on the curse
words, but
People like, this ain't gonna grow you. This brain cells gonna be gone. But go see the movie. And so stuff like that. And it was for, I think, 2 years after Dad's passing before I went to a movie. And I remember my first movie, it was Creed. What is it on now? 3?
Yes.
So it might have even been the first Creed. One of the Creeds, though, for sure.
2
and I
probably.
remember the moment he was at his daddy's grave. Or at the grave. It wasn't his,
the graveside.
His
daddy.
daddy.
It was his daddy.
His daddy.
And when I tell y'all hyperventilated.
Was he introducing his daughter?
No, I think it was just
he went
him
by
at that
himself.
grief. So it might have been
Oh, that
the
was the first one for sure.
Yeah.
And so here I am seeing this movie and got through this movie enjoying it, and he got to that grave and I lost it.
Yeah.
To the point to where people in the movie walked over and they were like, what can we do to help you? And I'm literally hyperventilating, like I can't breathe. And I had Alicia, I had my best friend on speed dial, and I messaged her, and I mean, I called, but I can't talk. I just need somebody that know me to come. And I remember her. She said, "Where are you?" And she said, her and Auntie Thelma, her mama. She said, "We're on our way." And they get to Tinseltown. The people is trying to help me, and I'm like, I can't talk, so I'm just kind of like, just give me a minute. Like I'm trying to motion to like, I can't breathe. Like it just
hit you out of nowhere.
It did. And so I finally got over that moment, and I got to my car, and Auntie Thelma and them, and we were on the phone at this point. And I remember Auntie Thelma saying something to me that has stuck with me in multiple areas of my life. She said, "Tia, you are a bridge." She said, so there will be a lot of walking on you for people to get to where they got to get to. And why in that moment she brought up a bridge? Because even just now saying that, I'm like, what they got to do with what was happening?
Nah, to tell me.
Girl, what? But she did. And I remember in that moment, and why probably the anointing on it helped. Like it literally reversed the hyperventilation. By now, at this point, I'm not hyperventilating anymore, but it helped. And I remember having another or experiencing that moment and thinking this was one of those moments for me where I'm gonna acknowledge, I'm gonna allow.
You owe yourself.
I'm
that.
not sitting in this stuff,
Yeah.
and not from this. I'm not sitting in that. That's not what I mean. I'm saying I'm like, no, I'm gonna acknowledge this. Yep. I'm gonna allow this. We gonna how long we need to be here, and that's that. I remember after divorce, so every Friday we went on a date night. That's actually on a date was when I was told we wanted a divorce, but on date night every Friday.
Wait.
Yep.
Huh?
He's like, "Can I talk to you about something?" I was like, "Sure."
That is
wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, baby,
Yep.
because I lead with conversations with that like all the time. Be like, "Can I talk to you about something?"
Yeah.
And you could never imagine it being.
I was very caught off guard, which y'all know. But again, not to the extent of there wasn't some things to be worked through, but I didn't expect that to be the same.
Yeah,
But
a lot was done.
Praise the
okay.
Lord.
Praise the
And
Lord.
so in transitioning even to that loss, like I remember, I just lost my train of thought. Talking about I remember, okay, so every Friday, thank you Holy Spirit, every Friday we went on a date. And so it was Friday. Now by now the divorce is done and I've moved. So the divorce was finalized I think like 2 or 3 weeks before I moved out the house because my apartment wasn't ready yet. And so I was just staying on the other side of the house in our guest room, guest bathroom and other things. But he helped move me, all the things, y'all. It's a whole story. Very amicable situation. But whatever. And it was like, let's just say that was a Tuesday. That Friday, I get up to kind of do my normal thing because I didn't work on Fridays. And so I go run errands. Yep. And I remember pulling up, I was hungry. And I pulled up to the Payway on Southwest 3rd, off the highway. And I said to myself, the lady said, "Hi, can I work on the Payway? How can I help you?" I said, "Ma'am, give me just a moment." I said, "Tia, don't eat too much because you're going to be full for date night." I said, "I'm going to get a kid's meal." And immediately, ain't no date night. And I'm bawling. The lady was like, "Ma'am, is this something we can get for you? We have what's wrong? We got the orange chicken. What's wrong?"
She didn't know. Poor little tick.
Man, we got the wonton soup. What's wrong?
She didn't have.
We got some orange chicken.
We not sold out of that. Look, we not sold out of nothing.
We get some raw chicken. Okay. You don't have to cry. We can make you some orange chicken.
Baby, do you not have no money or what? Like,
You need some generous out chicken, man. So I am bawling.
Jesus.
She's like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" You know. And I was like, "I'm fine." I was like, "Thank you, but I'm not hungry anymore." And so I pulled off into a parking spot and I bawled and I called my friend Devin. And by the end of the call, we're laughing. And it was another one of the, and I've never experienced that.
I can see that.
Yeah. Since that moment, never experienced it again. But for me, it was another moment of acknowledge and allow, but don't sit in it. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I was in that moment. But by the end of it, we went through that. But for me, it was important not to rehearse hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
that
saying?
is so good.
Yeah, like I don't want to rehearse the hurt. So it's like if I walk, don't rehearse the hurt.
rehearse.
Because it's like, if in this moment I'm
Man,
okay and I'm
that's
saying
good.
I'm okay, for whatever reason, whether it's something inside of you, insecurity, people pleasing, people, whatever, tomorrow don't be like, I'm that same hurt again today. Like, you're not.
Don't pick that back
Or
up.
if
You
you
don't
are,
have to be.
if you are, let
It
me
is a
say that.
choice.
But if you not, then, and I wasn't, I'm like, I remember maybe a month into being divorced and in my own place, and I was like, man, I'm missing companionship. I had a routine. I came home. That was my best friend. We watched TV. We watched Young
Locked in.
Sheldon. Whatever we was going to watch, watching the ratchet shows when we watched them. Laughing at Jocelyn and all that.
Baby. That sound like us.
Stevie. Yeah, but I was missing. But what I remember sitting on my couch and I said, man, I miss companionship. But you know what? I didn't miss him though.
Yeah.
And that
There's
was
a
telling
difference.
for me. I didn't miss him, but I did miss that. The routine and the coming home to someone, but that was something, again, the Lord had to. So just like I got to know God as my father with Dad's passing, with this, I got to know God as a companion. There's so much as my identity, because my identity was in a way wrapped up in that marriage.
Yes.
And just being married and having a ring.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really been a journey. And here we are again, just in a different way of getting to know my relationship with not only God growing, but with me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what grief has done. It has really been pivotal and trajectory changing moments of growing in me, healing, wholeness, walking things out, seeing a me that I wouldn't have seen before, and meaning that in a not good way. Like seeing stuff that's like, that's not cute, that's yucky. And so these moments brought me to a place, of having to address some stuff. And again, I don't know that these moments had to happen for it to be like this, but it's what happened to cause it to be like this. So in a way, I'm grateful.
Yeah,
It's been
absolutely.
tough. It's been some tough moments. But I'm grateful because I'm better for it.
Absolutely.
And all of us, we have testimony.
Yeah.
There's people.
I spoke at a conference a few weeks back about healing the soul of a woman. And we kind of touched bases on those things and the fact that, like, our story is our story because it's for someone else.
Absolutely.
Right? And to wish that it wasn't yours or to want to be, change it if you could is almost a slap in God's face, because this is your journey, this is your walk, and it's so that you can prepare somebody who's going to walk down the same path, or so that you can help them, and all things work together for the you know what I'm saying? And so I don't, yes, we experience things that are unfortunate. Absolutely.
I think a lot of times we struggle with the pain of it. But it's in our pain points that others are able to, even ourselves, we're able to break through, break free. You know what I mean? There's
your
so much.
experiences qualify you for
Absolutely.
absolutely.
The rooms you're going to enter.
I remember the lives you're going to impact, the lives you're going to
100%.
change. Like, there is truly purpose in your pain.
100%.
It's not for no reason.
It's not at all. And not just for them.
He's
for
intentional.
you. And that's what I want someone to know. Like, don't think that you're going through just for someone
Yeah.
else. Like, you're going to benefit too. But there are times where the Lord is allowing it so that he can get the glory, or he can allow it so that someone else can see. I remember people would ask me, like, about dad but for sure when it came to the divorce. Like, how? Like,
why,
how are you
when,
navigating
what?
like this? How are you getting through this? Now, what happened? I remember one person.
I remember being like,
she was like,
I think it's
somebody was like, I seen him in a picture with what's happening? Like, because it didn't, on the outside, it wasn't divorceable. It wasn't to me either. It's not even a fake outside inside thing. But I do think what happened was supposed to happen. I do believe that I have another chance. I do know that I've learned so much more even since then. I don't regret that marriage nor that experience. Like, I learned a lot. I was well taken care of. Like, I think we did what we knew to do at the time that we knew to do it the best way we knew to do it. I do think some decisions could have been different, but here we are. It's okay. I will never speak ill of him, dishonorably of him, because to be honest, there's not a need to do that, right? But at the same time, even if I could say something, and I've told you all this before, maybe even here on our podcast, that I remember post getting that news, of him wanting that, and just we were in another intense conversation of, you know, is this really our life right now? And the Lord said, Teaa, before he was your husband, he was my son. How you treat him matters. And that helped guide me. So when people would say things like, how, and like, you know, you don't seem like you're going through that, and I'm like, literally the Lord, and what became pain, what was pain became a joy for me of getting to point people to Jesus. Because if you know me, that's important to me. Like, as much as it's just it's important to me. Someone told me a couple of days ago, he said, you carry things. He said, you know, Teaa, I never know when you're going through something. He said, you carry things with such grace. I said, well, part of that is because it's important to me to point people to Jesus. I said, but it's also because y'all not my safe space. So, yeah, people who know me know. The people who know me
who are supposed to know.
There's a place where I go and be like,
who don't know.
You know, it's a place where I go, but that's not here. And he didn't say offense. He understood it. I was like, yeah, I'm running down. Where we going? Where's we going? Who are we at? We need to pull up on. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, so it's that, and I think that comes with maturity. You know,
absolutely.
It's like every place can't be.
Everybody don't need to know you going through something.
No, and I'm like, it's not fake. It's just to get multifaceted. Like Facebook is not the place for that.
No,
absolutely. You know what I'm saying? This work, y'all. Some of y'all that's not, and it's okay, but it's enough.
Get off Facebook.
Get off.
Get your business off Facebook.
This thing on. But yeah, in this moment, I just want to say to anyone who is grieving currently, no matter how long you've been on the grieving journey, please know that it can and will get better. That you can and you will get better. That it won't always be like this. And lovingly, I say to you, a part of it not being like this is you got some
make
choices.
A decision.
Yes, you got some decisions to make. You know, but you're not alone. You know, please inbox us on any of our platforms. If we can pray for you, know that we are praying for you already. But if there's any specifics, like, know that there is a such thing as shared grief. And you're not alone. And even if it feels alone, meaning no one in your family, your circle, your friends get it, they may not. They may not. You know, I've lost a parent, but I didn't lose Brandie's. So there's still a level of I don't get
But even in shared grief, it doesn't mean that I have to take on your level of grief.
No.
Or the stages and the phases of your grief. Because I think,
wow, this has really been a good discussion.
It has been great.
It has been.
It has been really good.
If you're experiencing,
I love the level of vulnerability. That took place. Do we have any moments of true transparency? I feel like just this episode,
whole conversation,
baby, was true transparency and transformation.
Our grief. The grief that we've shared here has been truly truthful, transparent, and has been transformative for all of us.
Absolutely.
In our journeys.
Agreed.
For sure.
Yes. And amen. Yeah.
Well, you guys, please feel free. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. All the platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All the things. Our individual stuff is always down below. Reach out to us if you need prayer or anything. Also, shoot us some topics that you would be interested to hear us talk about. We want to talk about the things you want to hear about. So reach out to us in that regard. And this has been Sister Talks led by God, and we will see you next time. We love you. Bye.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.